All right, hey, y'all, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another sit and talk video. Today is Sunday. I feel compelled to make this video simply because of what has transpired in my 11 years on tour, my event experience at the major this weekend, and I just honestly feel like the Pdga, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, could use some help. And I think a lot of these things I'm going to speak about today start at the Pdga level, simply because if the Pdga requires it for X tier event, then the Disc Golf Pro Tour is going to have to adopt it. So one of the few things I want to talk about here is standards. That goes targets, tees, and course maintenance. What I mean by that, I'm not here complaining. I don't get very many spit outs. My putt's not very hard. I got a few spit outs at Music City Open, and the reason is they had the wrong basket for the way the poles were. So the basket was supposed, or the top assembly with the chains on it was supposed to have two more links on every single strand, which, as you can see in this basket here, the chains hang into the basket. If you go to Music City Open coverage, the actual chains where they hang like this is above the rim. So what happens is the chains, they don't have time to react, and I had a putt hit dead center, hit the bottom of the basket, and jump out because the chains aren't in the bottom to catch it once it's in the bottom of the target. So it's not a dynamic disc basket problem because these are galvanized chains. The chains are hanging in the target beautifully, but we're using baskets from an event that simply aren't even their best target, aren't put together correctly, isn't the correct pole to top ratio, and we're playing our job on that target. That's just not something that seems adequate to me for the Pdga, for the Pro Tour, and it's simply not a good look for dynamic discs because it's putting their basket out there. This rendition, this is the Dynamic Disc Open. We're here right now. This is the new hole 18, and this is the basket they're displaying. Galvanized chains put together correctly, level. This is the display that they would probably want their basket to be used on. But on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you have us spitting out, people upset, people bashing not only the baskets, but also, dynamic discs as a whole. And it's simply not fair because there's no standard that says, hey, if you're going to use X basket, it has to be the highest quality model. So I don't think that's too much to ask, is for the manufacturer to be represented correctly and the tour or the Pdga to require that be the process. Is that if Innova, we shouldn't be using their 24 chain basket when they have a really nice 28 chain basket out. So I would say the same for dynamic discs. We shouldn't be using their basket from 2 years ago with not the correct amount of chains and the pole too high, so the basket doesn't work correctly. I'm getting ripped by fire ants right here. But we shouldn't be using the incorrect target when it's literally our livelihood. And then the tees at the same Music City Open, these new X turf tees, whatever they are, ended up being, they just held water. So you step on the tee pad and it just squirts out water from under your feet, which obviously if you've ever played disc golf, you don't want the tee to be soaking wet to the point where it gets your socks wet just throwing off the tee. So when we imply standards and we're picking a tour tee and every course has to have this tee, we need to implement it in a correct way where the tee drains and it's maybe not on plywood. I played with James Conrad, and James Conrad was bouncing off this plywood with his run-up, which is a pretty bouncy run-up, and he was trampolining around the course because we have these tees this high off the ground on plywood structures, which just doesn't, again, I have a short run-up. Doesn't seem that fair to me that James has to hop onto the tee, bounce around, and then not break his neck falling off the other side. And now could James work on his run-up to be better fit to, a normal size tee? Sure, but also he's a pretty tall guy, and that's tough. And then the last one is course maintenance. We go to a lot of these courses on a major or, Disc Golf Pro Tour platform, and you could tell that they haven't trimmed a branch or a tree in 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it's that's not how the course was designed to be played X way. Once the branches grow in for 5 years and you don't ever trim anything, the play starts to change. You can't just let the course overgrow and not trim up bushes and not trim up limbs that are touching the ground and then just pick, oh yeah, well, this is the Pro Tour. It's there needs to be some type of maintenance requirement that, and there's tournaments where in Houston, for example, for the Pro Tour, they trimmed up a branch after the first round of the tournament because it was in the way. But that same branch was in the way on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's not like it just got in the way Friday. So when we're doing these and we're running these events, we need to be able to utilize these courses and these tournaments in order to actually make the round and the course as good as possible. Because otherwise, we're playing our livelihood and our job out here at a place that probably isn't prepared and isn't ready in order to have us there if you're not willing to maintain the course and at least keep it in the state that it was designed to be in. And maybe I'm whining. Maybe you guys don't agree, but I just feel like having standardized tees that are fair, flat, and don't hold water, putting the targets together correctly, and requiring the tournament staff and the local groupings to have the tournament be ready to play and use the most recent basket. And then again, just some maintenance. So the next thing for me is going to be from a PDGA standpoint of not allowing people to monopolize the PDGA. And what I mean by that is simply someone shouldn't be the judge, the jury, and the executioner, because what happens is it becomes unfair. So when you have someone running a tournament that is in charge of the president of the PDGA, so everyone answers to this person, and then you have other people not wanting something to happen, and this person is just overriding it because of what is in their best benefit, tends to have a conflict of interest. And I think that the PDGA, the PDGA board, and employees of the PDGA should have the members in mind first, is what should happen. There should be the membership first is what our organization should be. So when you're putting people out there back on the course after a 6-hour delay, one, it's unsafe. The course was super slippery, branches were falling out of the trees, and how I can prove that branches were falling out of the trees, because on Saturday, the day after the delay, there was like 40 red circles painted around trees where limbs were ready to fall. But the day before that, that wasn't there, and the same limbs were probably there ready to fall. And being a professional athlete and sitting there for 6 hours on a delay, not having a clue whether you're going to play, not play, anything like that, is not very good for your tournament. And I understand, hey, stuff happens, you can't control the weather, yada, yada, yada. I understand that as well. Like, I'm not blaming the event staff or anything for the weather. What I'm blaming is that we shouldn't be forced to go out there and have people play 1.5 holes to aid or be part of what you view the tournament should be. It's about safety and what the members of the PDGA and the athletes want. And it's not only about what one person wants, who happens to be the TD, the president. And I'm saying this from someone who really respects what Nate Heinold has done for the sport and for his events. I mean, he raises the most money. He raises the most money for St. Jude. He does a great job. He pushes the sport to the next level. He sponsors players. I'm not saying this because I don't like Nate Heinold. I'm saying this because I think that us members of the PDGA allowing monopolization, it has a negative effect on our sport. And I simply just want people to be able to play the game and not have an issue with things happening that are out of our control, and then someone having a behind the scenes feel for what's going on and making their decision based off of that. I feel like it's not something that is adequate or something that the members should be allowing. And with that being said, I think the tournament went great. Huge congrats to Andrew Presnell. Obviously played a great event. Huge congrats to Evelina, played a great event, and persevered. Because I know that there were some people who had, my arm is not set for 2 rounds in a day. And especially not set for warming up twice in a day, and playing and then warming up again. It's just, I'm not to that point yet. And that's a me problem. That's not a tournament staff problem. But I think we should just really work on not allowing, people to be the judge, jury, and the executioner. And then this is also a PDGA thing, live scoring versus UDisc. When your phone or your Tesla or your whatever has new software, you expect it to be better. When we went from UDisc to PDGA Live, we took a huge downgrade. If you want to go to PDGA Live, that's fine. You own you're the PDGA. Of course you want us to use your app and be on your platform and doing all that, which is perfectly fine to want that to happen. I don't see an issue with that. But you need to create and build your app and your online site to be adequate to what you're replacing. Because in the real world, if my car needs an update and now all of a sudden it crashes into the next barrier because it went backwards, you're going to be upset. UDisc and PDGA Live at this moment are not comparable. You can't favorite people. There's no USDC tracker. Until this weekend, there was no cut line or cash line available. You know, we went backwards, and that just doesn't seem like, again, as the PDGA, I feel like they need to cater to the members. The members pay a membership, and they want us to use their platforms and all of that. But you need to cater to the players, and whether recreational players use UDisc, recreational players, you know, like this isn't just me saying, oh, the players as the professionals. This is something that affects every single player in the PDGA who plays a PDGA tournament. Because before, UDisc was an acceptable thing, and you could keep stats, and it would track your rounds, and you could say, oh, I played 400 rounds this year, 100 of them were in tournaments, whatever it might be. But like now they took that away from us and replaced it with something that didn't per se work better. And that's my problem. I think if we're going to innovate and we're going to put out new things, the new thing needs to be better than the old thing, or else I just personally question why we're implementing new things. And maybe someone can answer that, but I'm unsure. And then the last thing is PDGA denied a discount code to members for UDisc. UDisc reached out and said, hey, we're going to give you a discount code for your members to use on our thing. And the PDGA, I don't know if they view UDisc as a competitor or what, but you know, they said no, which again isn't serving the PDGA members, because I feel like I don't per se use UDisc, but I know a lot of people do. I know Anthony Barella uses a lot of professionals use UDisc, and it's like, of course, having a discount is great, but to deny your members a discount because you're no longer using it just seems like a short-sighted way to view things. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to belittle or be rude here. I'm just trying to have a conversation and share how I feel about what's going on in our sport from our governing body. I just don't feel like it's fair. And the same thing, going back to the Nate Heinold situation, you know, I talked to a bunch of the PDGA representatives, and they weren't happy about the operations and how it went. And, you know, oh, you think I want to be here at 6:45 in the morning or 6 a.m., you know, to get all this ready? Like, you know, there was one person that wanted us to play that day, and it was coincidentally the person that made the choice. You know, everyone else supposedly that I had talked to, and you guys think I might come on here just to spew crap all over the place, but it's genuinely not the truth. I talk to the people that are involved. I get people's opinions. I try my best to tell the full story, not just my side. If someone had told me a reasonable reason as to why something happened or what was going on, I wouldn't be making this video. But frankly, I asked other representatives that were there that are paid from the PDGA, which I'm a member of. You guys are hopefully a member of. You know, we're playing in a PGA major tournament, which is the biggest tier of tournament you could play in, and no one seemed to agree with the choice. So I just feel like there's things to work on. We need strict standards, not only to protect the players from having to play on bad equipment, but also protect the companies from displaying a bad piece of equipment that isn't actually representative of their brand. You know, we need to hold our peers and the PDGA accountable at all levels. We need to hold the Pro Tour accountable at all levels. And I just think that we need to do better. And I think as an organization and as, you know, the sport's growing, you know, people holding each other accountable is what's needed. So overall, I just wish we can, or I hope we can grow from this, and every year we continue to grow, and every year when we do change things, we're not regressing or going backwards. We're actually moving forward. We're using better technology or better products, and that's where our sport goes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Drop some comments down below if you agree or disagree or whatever. Like I said, a lot of these things I'm saying are based off of facts, and I've talked to representatives, I've talked to people, I've talked to the board, I've talked to a lot of things, and this is what I've came to. So I gave people their opportunity to, you know, object and or educate me further if I'm saying incorrect things. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.